I rebuilt this Honda CB250 Super Dream, and if you see my last upload where me and my girlfriend Nicole took this bike out to grab a coffee, well, it didn't really want to produce full power.
This is what I started with. Rusty, rotten, and forgotten about.
The bike was actually last ridden before I was even born.
Yep, it was sat unloved since 1986.
And it clearly required a full-on restoration. We've got to strip this bike down and we've got to do our best in restoring it. And I'm just a novice.
Though I gave it a go, of course, and through all the trials and tribulations.
So, this is not going according to plan.
We managed to succeed.
That was until me and Nicole went on a little ride out. Like, I'm coming up this hill and it's bogging ever so slightly.
Right, okay.
See, it's like holding back. So in this upload, we're going to try and figure out what's going wrong. Firstly though, I want to mention this app that I've been using called Readly. If you're like me and love delving deep into all things motorcycles, mechanics, or you just like to keep up to speed with the latest news, Readly has you well covered. Readly gives you access to absolutely thousands and thousands of digital magazines and newspapers. If it isn't motorcycles I want to read about, it might be tech, or it might be fitness. I also use it to typically read about news or politics. And the best part, you can download your favourite issues and read them offline. So whether you're in the garage working on your next project, or maybe you're heading out for a ride, you've got all of the magazines and all of the news you need, anytime, anywhere. You can even share one account with up to 5 profiles. So when Nicole isn't helping out with all my rebuilds, she can access all of the magazines she enjoys. As I've been using Readly myself, what I've discovered is no more magazines cluttering up the house or my workshop. So I highly recommend you check out the description where you can get instant access to Readly and get 2 months for free. Also, if you don't want to continue your membership, you can cancel anytime you want, so you have absolutely nothing to lose. So, thank you Readly, and now, back to the Super Dream, and let's figure out what's going wrong. Before we get into troubleshooting what is causing the loss of power, I should mention that the carbs are certainly balanced. And there we go, look at that for a read, that is absolutely perfect. I initially thought that was the issue, but clearly it wasn't. Lots of carbon sit on that. That one is looking just as bad. Now I should stress that the carbs have been totally stripped, cleaned and rebuilt, and all jets have been replaced. Though given this particular fault, we can't obviously rule out the carbs. In fact, we maybe should consider that it also could be a dodgy coil pack. Though thanks to some of the comments in my previous upload, there is something I want to test first. The carburetor inlet boots, they're rubber, and some of you have mentioned maybe they're leaking. So what I've done is I've hooked up the carbs with fresh fuel, and I'm going to start the bike and just allow it to warm up first. A bit of choke. What I'm going to do is take this penetrant and I'm going to spray it around the inlet boot and see if there's any leaks. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that, but this side is smoking. Still smoking. And popping the bang as well. Now we don't have to wait very long for new inlet rubbers because I ordered them anyway. Now that we've got the carburetors off, I'm just going to double check if the Venturi is working correctly. Okay, so that's a good sign. I was a little concerned that maybe they were sticking, but they seem to be sliding easy enough. If we look at the old inlet boot, rather large split. Can you see that crack appear? You see that crack? Look at that, look, you can see the light coming through. Oh dear. So old inlet with its large crack, and new inlet boot. Nice and soft as well, look at that. Carbs are back on, throttle cables are all hooked up. Now we need to feed it some fuel, start the engine again, and see how the engine reacts to those new rubber inlets. sounding a lot more positive. I can't hear any backfiring. The engine is idling perfectly. However, the other thing that we need to look at now is the sound of the engine. Some of you still think the engine sounds a little bit too ticky. Is that the word? Ticky? I guess it is. So there's a few things that we can look at just to tick it off and make sure that we've covered everything with regards to the cam chain. Now in the last video, what I did was I undone this locking nut down here. Now when you undo that locking nut, what happens is the cam chain blade is spring loaded and it should push itself against the cam chain and take up any slack. With the cam cover removed, what I did then was undo that lock nut, took my finger and I forced the blade down. I must say there was a smidgen of movement. I was able to push the blade down probably half a centimetre. All right, let's start the bike again then, eh? Ignition's on. So let me know what you think. Does that sound quieter? And then a final check just to make sure the carbs are still balanced. And you can see that they are pretty much bang on. Okay, bike's all back together. What better way to test it than to take it on the open road, see if we've fixed the problem. Dee-dee-dee. Starts up so well. Again, let me know what you reckon to the sound of the engine. Do you still think it sounds tappety, ticky? It was interesting, there was many comments saying that the bike sounds fine. Some of you have owned a Super Dream and you think that's how they should sound. Some of you have owned a Super Dream and think that's not how they should sound. So I can't compare. I don't have another Super Dream. I've never ridden one before, never owned one, so I've got no idea. Anyway, first gear. Let's see how it performs. So far so good, but we won't know until we try and take it above 5,000 RPM. Wait until I get around this next bend and we will give it a try. Nope, still stuck. Still will not exceed 5,000 RPM. God, it could be something so simple. Let's head back to the workshop. Alright, so what are we saying? If I'm thinking the next thing to check is the coil pack, I don't want to just go ahead and replace it. There is a way of checking to see if this coil pack is working correctly. And as I love to learn on this channel, I have read up how to check the coil pack to see if this one is functioning correctly or not. I'll show you how. One coil pack removed from the Super Dream. So we've got our primary, we've got our secondary. Obviously these are two HD caps that go to the spark plugs. And I'm going to take my multimeter and I'm going to check for resistance. Now first of all, let me stress again, I am a beginner. So please, if I do make any mistakes, this is not a how-to. Anyway, I'm going to set it to 200 ohms. Pop that down there so I can take two of my leads, and I'm going to double check to make sure the multimeter is working first of all. So I should be able to pop these together and I'm getting a reading 14.5 ohms. So we know that the multimeter is working. Now to test the primary resistance, I take this pigtail, that's what I believe it's called, and I'm going to take my leads for the multimeter and I'm going to test the resistance by popping those in there on those connectors. So I'm getting a reading of 41 ohms, which is extremely high. It should be 3 to 5. That's a healthy coil. This one is too high. I just Googled resistance very high motorcycle coil. If your coil resistance is high, there is less amperage passing through the coils and points, which would extend their life. However, excessive resistance results in a weak spark and frequent misfires. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Sounds like our issue. Possibly. Look what I've got. A new coil pack. Let's test this bad boy and see if this one is up to the job. Now before we check the new coil, I am going to double check the old coil. Okay, so we're getting 16. Let's try the new coil. 3 to 5 it should be. Perfect. Alright, let's have a fire up, shall we? Here we go. Okay, so honestly, just seems to be getting worse. Holding the throttle open ever so slightly. So weird. Now it seems alright. Until I tried to twist the throttle. Oh. Kill me. Just kill me, please. Put me out of my misery.
As I stood looking at the bike, I just couldn't help but wonder, was there a fault with the carburetors? There was a possibility, and obviously I couldn't know unless I removed them from the bike.
Right, it's deja vu with these damn carburetors. Who knows, there might be a little bit of dirt stuck somewhere that I've missed. I don't think I have, but I need to go back over them and just double check, because I'm sort of thinking to myself, what else could it be? Please let me know in the comment section, what could it possibly be?
At this point, I was genuinely running out of answers. All that we have been through on this rebuild together, to have practically saved it from the dead, to then have been able to thrash it up the road,
Power up the hill.
the bike hadn't felt this alive for decades, so we cannot give up on it.
Oh my god. You are not going to believe what I've discovered when I removed one of the float bowls. What's that doing in there? I think that might be our issue. Old CB250 Super Dream. Alright, I'm feeling really positive. Firstly, because I've got a new project bike for the channel. So this here is said project bike. And of course, I've covered it up. I'm not going to let you know what it is. Don't be silly. But how about you guess by the shape of the bike? Drop a comment below. Or what you could do, what is even better, is subscribe. Because then you'll be sure to find out. But actually, let me give you a little peek. Shall I show them a little bit of the bike? No? No. Let's keep the intrigue. But secondly, and more importantly, I think we've fixed the problem with this bike. Let's see what's happening. Oh, hey! Little rocket. So what a surprise, the bike, the CB250, what a warrior it is. It never gave up, we never gave up. We managed to get this bike running properly once again, and what a surprise. I cannot believe that jet was loose in the carb, rattling around in the float bowl, and on our first ride we were still able to get back home safely. What a machine, absolutely phenomenal machine. Also, I want to mention and remind you, if you'd love to get the chance to win this Super Dream, links on the screen for the Patron, and if you support the channel, My way of saying thank you is me giving this Honda CB250 away to one of you lucky supporters. Thank you all so very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. See you on the next one.